Building a 1/24th scale plastic model requires absolute control. You measure the glue, align the decals, and let the paint cure. But the memories attached to these cars are often entirely out of control. Take this 1980s GMC work truck. In its prime, it was a cultural icon, complete with an optional high-end cassette deck that let you blast Ozzy Osbourne or Quiet Riot on your way to work. From the outside, the chrome trim and boxy lines gave it a rugged, dependable look. Underneath that shiny exterior, however, the frame was rotting away. The truck was a rolling hazard. We tend to remember the good times, the pristine paint jobs, and the freedom of the open road. Recreating the absolute truth of those days means digging past the shiny facade to build the decay that was actually holding it all together. You run into an immediate problem when trying to build a static plastic model of a chaotic memory. A single kit can't simultaneously display the intricate details of a rusted chassis and survive the physical stress of recreating a violent crash. The solution is to build two identical kits at the same time. You engineer one as the hero vehicle, meticulously painted and weathered for the camera, and a second stunt double, built purely to take a beating. Telling the complete story of a catastrophic failure requires splitting the memory into two distinct parts, one to look the part and one to fall apart. Back in the 1980s, the protective bedliners and undercoatings we rely on today didn't exist. In New England, highway departments dumped massive amounts of salt on the roads every winter, and that salt would pack into the wheel wells and undercarriages of every vehicle. This diagram shows the chemical breakdown of the truck's frame. When road salt mixes with melting snow, the resulting salt water acts as a highly conductive electrolyte. It rapidly accelerates the natural oxidation of the iron components, eating the metal from the inside out. To replicate this on a perfectly clean 1/24th scale plastic frame, we bypass standard hobby paint by applying a base coat of actual iron oxide and then washing it with a liquid rust activator. The plastic undergoes the exact same rapid oxidation process. It smells, feels, and flakes like real rust because it is real rust. The decay didn't stop at the frame. To match the warped, beaten metal of the real truck, you have to take a heat gun directly to the model's plastic hood, intentionally melting and deforming the factory-perfect lines. The real-life vehicles from this era suffered massive structural degradation. The bolts, the exhaust hangers, and the primary load-bearing crossmembers would literally dissolve, leaving huge voids in the chassis. Making a piece of plastic look like a decaying machine means you can't just paint a picture of rust. You have to engineer the actual chemistry of corrosion. While the hero car gets the full chemical treatment, the stunt double gets a quick spray of flat black paint on its undercarriage. The camera will never see the bottom of this version, so the focus shifts entirely to how it functions. The factory plastic mounts on the stunt model are too strong to fail naturally. To guarantee the frame snaps on cue, the rear suspension is entirely rebuilt, using brittle balsa wood, thick hot glue, and leftover plastic sprues. That engineered fragility perfectly mirrors the real GMC truck. After years of New England winters, the heavy steel frame was hanging on by a handful of rusted, brittle bolts. Of course, the teenagers driving it had no idea. We would skip gym class, meet out front, and pile directly into the bed of this compromised truck for our weekly trips to Denny's. We called it the Hooptie. Every time the truck hit a bump, you'd hear this loud clickety-clack sound echoing from the undercarriage. We'd be bouncing around in the back, laughing at the noise, treating the failing suspension like an amusement park ride. When you're 16, you assume the machines around you are invincible. That youthful ignorance acts as a powerful psychological shock absorber, completely blinding you to the fact that the vehicle you are sitting in is seconds away from a catastrophic mechanical failure. The breaking point arrived on a typical Friday night. A group of us had grabbed pizza out by Revere Beach, hanging out on the seawall. When it got late, we piled into the truck and headed inland down the highway. New England had just been hit by a heavy snowstorm. The plows had cleared the main lanes, but the plowing process tears up the asphalt, leaving massive, jagged craters hidden in the dark. Cruising at highway speeds, the driver never saw the divot in the road. The truck slammed directly into a massive, jagged pothole, sending the rusted rear end launching into the air. It takes millions of salt molecules to rust a bolt, and thousands of pounds of snowplows to break a highway. When those two forces finally meet at 60 miles an hour, whatever is left of the metal instantly shatters. The impact violently sheared the remaining rusted bolts. The entire rear axle completely detached from the frame, bouncing out from under the truck and sliding a quarter of a mile down the dark highway behind us. With no rear wheels to support it, the truck bed dropped directly onto the asphalt. We were sliding at highway speeds, the floor beneath us glowing red from friction, throwing a massive rooster tail of bright orange sparks. Up in the cab, the driver couldn't hear the scraping and had absolutely no idea the axle was gone. We eventually skidded into the breakdown lane and bailed out. That was the end of the line for the actual GMC Hooptie. The remains were hauled off the highway and sold for scrap metal to a local junkyard. The stunt double model met a similar fate during filming, shattering exactly as engineered. But the perfectly rusted hero model gets to skip the junkyard. It goes right up onto the display shelf. Assembling these pieces is a way to process the wilder moments of growing up. It takes the most chaotic, terrifying nights of your teenage years, shrinks them down, and lets you finally hold them safely in your hands.